Man, oh man. Wrap up team. Had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you did too. Whatever. I don't care. You're going to get it anyway. Um, a lot of things to hit on real quick though in this video. So I'll try and mow through some stuff. First, I want to hit on some news and notes. And they're not fun news or notes. They're all kind of depressing. So these are intended to scare you because it's all the negative news. First off, Jamar Chase maybe going to miss week 1. He's still holding out. He showed up to practice one day and then decided to say, nah, screw that. I'm not going to practice anymore. So will we see Jamar Chase? Who knows? Maybe not. More bad news. Maybe the worst trade ever. Ernest Jones leaves Los Angeles for Tennessee for a 6th round pick 2 years from now. Awful, just terrible stuff. So not only does the Ernest Jones owner, Big Mike, miss out, any potential Kenneth Murray owner misses out because now there's competition for that spot. Just sucks all around. More shitty Rams news. Kyron Williams is the punt returner? ? Apparently that's Sean McVay's master plan. So now you have to worry about Kyron Williams' playing time getting eaten into in order to accommodate some snaps at punt returner. You also have to worry about increased injuries. Ugh, what are they doing? They're killing me. More bad news. Samaje Perine signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, Samaje Perine, a pass-catching back, probably eats into Isaiah Pacheco's third down role. So that sucks for the Pacheco owner. And lastly, Dalvin Cook going to the Cowboys. The backfield didn't look that great to begin with, but now it just muddies the situation further for Rico Dowdle, who was probably my favorite guy to end up as the starting running back. Boy, a couple washed up dudes in Zeke and Dalvin Cook holding my man down. That's unfortunate. Anyway, that's the news and notes. Oh, we'll get to the rankings rebuttal. Spoiler alert. All contracts are in and reported. Thanks to everybody that got that done in a timely manner. Now we can focus on football and the rest of the season. Next week, of course, we'll get a video out for side missions. That's right. Time to start talking about side missions. For the uninitiated, that would be Shane and Dylan. We do weekly random side games, of course, that are relevant to your fantasy squad. They can't really be gamed for. It's going to be stuff that just kind of happens organically with the players that you're already starting. So there's not really a way to kind of game who wins those side missions. But if you happen to win any week's side mission, that goes into a pot at the end of the year. I think the last couple of years it's ended up being $9 a week. And I think last year, everybody except for Brent and Carl won a side mission, at least one side mission. Ryan won a few. Cody won a couple. So yeah, you know, that all goes into your buy-in next year. Very fun, very exciting stuff. I've also got a new wrinkle that we're going to add, and I will feature that in next week's side mission video as well. So just something that will hopefully keep everybody on their toes, a nice little added challenge that, again, probably isn't going to impact your roster directly, but just something that we can kind of keep track of throughout the course of the season. So that is the couple items to cover before we go back into rankings. Let's take a look at everybody's favorite slideshow. Here's the final rundown. In last place, we had Joe singing the blues, the Blue Star Blues. I think that's how that goes. Big Mike in 11th. Cody in the 10 spot. Ryan looking just outside the playoff window. Brent giving him the finger inside the playoff window. Brent there at 8. We had Team Dylon, newcomer, sitting at 7th. Team Shane sitting at 6th, also a newcomer. Good job, guys. Walker running in 5th. Oh, we got to talk about Carl. Carl sitting in 4th. Then we went Matt, the Goats, at 3. Brian B. Money at 2. Very controversial based on ESPN and Fantasy Pro rankings. And thank you to Carl and Ryan and their very impartial, very level-headed review of my team, putting me in first place. Gosh, you guys really know how to recognize talent. I appreciate that. All right. I wanted to do a quick rebuttal on my ranking that Carl gave. Not that there's really much to rebut, but a couple of points that I wanted to call out. First off, I got a lot of flack for the Drake London and Anthony Richardson picks. I think that the London pick is really just upside, and I don't think that's really deniable. Throughout the preseason now, he's proven to be Kirk O'Chains' favorite target. Where he was taken late in the 3rd round, I think he's a little bit more, maybe not safe bet is the right word, but just the health questions around Debo and Nico Collins, the 2 guys that I would have had him on level with, made it a little bit easier for me to take Drake London there. So if you look at that, I think Drake London was probably the right pick. Anthony Richardson, yeah, like Carl said, and I've said myself, I probably, in hindsight, would have rather had Lamar Jackson. But I think Richardson's rushing upside puts him on par with Joe Burrow. Maybe even gives him a little bit of a bump ahead of Joe Burrow. So if I get a quarterback that throws for 3,000 yards and rushes for, I mean, would it be crazy for a quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards? Maybe, maybe not. But that's kind of the gamble with Richardson. So we'll see what happens. And again, if you want to take your injuries into account, Joe Burrow has not had the greatest last couple of years health-wise. So, yeah, we'll see what shakes out there. The other thing, there was a question about the depth of my team overall. That I disagree with. I don't see it. Strategically, right now, my bench is all offensive guys because the first couple weeks of the year, we're going to see how a lot of those shared backfield playing time snaps shake out. And yeah, I grabbed a bunch of lotto tickets thinking we might get ahead of that. So if guys like Jaleel McLaughlin, Ty Chandler aren't getting snaps, aren't getting playing time, that's easy to cut bait. And I'll move on to somebody that does. So yeah, I think I'm looking pretty good. You guys know I'm looking good. That's my very low-key rebuttal to the ranking. But enough about me. We're here to talk about Carl. Carl's team. Carl really was looking forward to this review. He's a little bit angry that I have him at 4th. When we look at ESPN, let's pull that up here real quick. ESPN has Carl sitting in the 3 spot. If we look at Fantasy Pros has Carl sitting in the 2 spot. Now, was a little hot takey to stick Carl at 4th? Probably, maybe, I don't know. Let's dive into it and let's see what we're working with, okay? I have a few questions, a few concerns, and we'll see what Carl has to think of those, okay? So round 1, he went Bijan Robinson, Travis Etienne, Stephon Diggs, Derrick Henry, Antoine Winfield, and Evan Engram. Now, I've got a knack for hating on DBs. I'm sure you all think that I'll say I hate the Winfield pick. I'm going to buck the trend and I'm going to go someplace else. Evan Engram. Don't like the Evan Engram pick. Why is that? I mean, he was the 9th tight end selected. Sure, that's not like a death sentence or anything. On paper, though, Evan Engram looks like a huge regression candidate. Why do I say that? Well, he shattered career highs in targets, catches, and yards in his 7th season, his 2nd season with the Jags. And how did the Jags respond to that? They drafted a receiver in the 1st round. They spent good money on getting Gabe Davis. yeah, Ingram, he's only sitting at tight end 9, so there's some upside there, obviously, to reach that again. But in the grand scheme of things, we're talking a premium pick in the first 6 rounds spent on a tier 3 starter at tight end, right? So I don't know. It just seemed maybe some misplaced capital there. Again, don't really hate the player, but questioning how much upside there is for Evan Ingram this season. We'll see what happens. But loved. I tell you what, the running back talent that you got overall is pretty fantastic. Robinson, obviously, a slam dunk there. ETN, I think he might not see a lot of touchdowns, but I think he's going to be super productive between the 20s. Obviously, he'll hit 1,300 yards rushing, probably going to hit 40-ish catches. That's going to be great. And then Derrick Henry is your flex, who's just going to be a tight end vulture supreme, probably like a Jamal Williams from 2 years ago sort of role for Henry. I think Williams had 17, 18 touchdowns a couple of years ago for the Lions. I think that's totally in the realm of possibility for Henry. Maybe not going to see a ton of rushing yards, probably not 1,000-yard rusher, but you got to think once they get down inside the 20, inside the 10, Derrick Henry's going to try and take some of that load off of Lamar Jackson. And yeah, that'll be huge. That's kind of my quick rundown on the first 6 rounds. Look, Winfield may have been a stretch, but he's one of the few DBs that I think you could bank on having a top 3 season at the position. So, I mean, yeah, maybe a reach to take him there, but really probably a safe pick. So that's, there you go. Let's move on. Okay. Rounds 7 through 12. We go DJ Moore, Zaire Franklin, Brian Burns, George Pickens, JOK, and Nick Chubb. I flip-flopped a little bit on these. Initially, I thought I might have loathed the DJ Moore pick. He's really grown on me. I've come around a lot on DJ Moore the last few weeks. What I will say, I did love the Nick Chubb pick, especially when you take into consideration you're locked in at running back already with the first 6 rounds there with Bijan, ETN, and King Henry. Nick Chubb, we know he's going to be sitting in that IR spot at least the first 4 weeks. And you don't even need to rush him into the starting spot once he's off IR. You could wait a couple weeks, see what kind of role, see what kind of production you're going to get with him, so you can kind of slow play it. That's going to be huge coming in the final few weeks of probably the second half of the season when you think about it. He's going to get up to speed. So, Chubb, total luxury pick, really good pick. Love that. My loathed pick here is probably George Pickens. Early on, I'd probably flip-flop DJ Moore and George Pickens. I was excited about Pickens early on, but man, the Steelers just look like hot garbage. Their offensive line has been abysmal. Russell Wilson has been hurt all preseason. He's the starter now for whatever that's worth, but what kind of rhythm is he going to have with that passing game? Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator. He might not call any plays deeper than, 6 yards. So I just don't know what there's. It could be a really long year for him. We'll probably see a quarterback change at some point in time. So yeah, it's going to be probably a long year for poor George Pickens. But yeah, that's kind of my take on the middle rounds. Now, final rounds. Where'd he go? There we go. Okay. Christian Watson, Tua, T. Higgins, Devon Witherspoon, Alex Highsmith, Shaq Thompson, Eric Kendricks, Quentin Johnston, Trent McDuffie, J.K. Dobbins, Layatu Latu, Jahan Dotson. Things are vanishing on me. Okay. All right. There was a lot of good in this final wave of picks. There was some bad in this final wave of picks. Um, the first three picks, though, I loved all of them. Watson's probably the best pick of the bunch, especially if they figured out his whole hamstring ailment. What was the report early this offseason? They found that one was like 30% weaker than the other, and they worked on getting them evened out. Some crazy insanity like that. Um, this could really be a huge year for Christian Watson. And fun fact, did you know that he scores a touchdown every 5.75 catches? How stupid is that? That's got to be some sort of ridiculous mark. Tua and T. Higgins right after him, both great values. Honestly, that's especially the Higgins pick. That's a huge fumble on the rest of us. I'm still not sure how Higgins fell that far. Was it there was like rumors of a holdout or something like that earlier in the offseason? Maybe that's why. I don't know. Either way, our fumble is your fumble recovery. Uh, so, so good job there. Loathed. There were some questionable picks. I will say this: Quentin Johnston might be one of the more catastrophic busts in recent history. Look, it's not over for him yet. It's his second year, but in a brand new offense, he's still running behind DJ Chark on the depth chart, behind the other rookie, Lad McConkey, and Josh Palmer. So hard to get excited about that. Here's a deep cut. Devon Witherspoon had a massive year as a rookie last year, right? Total revelation as a cornerback. But there's been wholesale change in the coaching staff. They brought in the former DC of the Ravens. I could be wrong, but I don't recall a Ravens corner that's had like a huge statistical season in the recent history. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but I just wonder if that defensive alignment might take away from Witherspoon's numbers. Or even if it's not the alignment, maybe teams just start throwing at somebody else because he had like 16 pass breakups, 3 picks. He had some sacks. He was just all over the field. So maybe there's some changes to his alignment. Maybe there's some changes strategically in teams deciding not to throw at him. You just got to think there's going to be some regression there. Aside from that, just some questionable Shaq Thompson. What's he got left in the tank? Leatu Latu, edge rushing rookie. That's tough to project a lot for. It's a tough position to get up to speed with. Jahan Dotson, he's wide receiver 3 for the Eagles now. Who knows what that's going to look like? So I don't know. Again, it's the back half of the draft, making mountains out of molehills, perhaps, but those were my gripes. So let's take a look at the team overall, if we can do that quick. Carl's got Tua, Bijan, Etienne, Diggs, DJ Moore, Evan Ingram, Derrick Henry, George Pickens. On the defensive side, Zaire, JOK, Brian Burns, Highsmith, Winfield, Witherspoon, Shaq Thompson, Eric Kendricks. Look, it's a really good looking team. A couple of questions, maybe along the flex with Pickens, Shaq Thompson. I think those guys could be improved upon. The bench looks not super strong to me. Look, yeah, Watson and Higgins, those are huge, but outside of that, Quentin Johnston, he looks like an immediate cut candidate. I don't know why you want to carry a third DB there. We'll have to see what shakes out, but I got you in 4th right now. I think for me, there are some questions about depth, as well as some questions about potential upside on some of these other guys. So who knows? One recurring theme that we've said throughout these reviews, throughout this offseason, is these teams are all quite close, regardless of where we or ESPN or Fantasy Pros rank them. I don't think there's a lot of I got a visitor. I don't think there's a ton of disparity in any of these teams. Would you be quiet? And I'm excited for the season to start. So there you have it. There's the end of our reviews. And yeah, let's play some football. We'll chat with you guys next week. We'll talk about side missions, a fun other thing that we're going to track. And yeah, we'll do it then. All right. Have a good one.